Hello, I'm Jerry Lintner, and this is State of the Town, a monthly show when we meet with our first selectman, Mary Glassman, to get brought up to date on the state of the town. Mary.
Jerry, welcome to Town Hall.
Well, thank you for the welcome, and thank you for stepping up, being willing to do another tour of duty, and congratulations
Thank you very
on
much.
your win there. I'll sleep better at night knowing that things will roll on stably.
Thank you very much.
So let's see. Simsbury Celebrates is coming up. I remember years back on that. I'm hoping this will not be the case this year, although we have had a snap of cold weather. But there were some nights when it was so cold. So we'll just have to see. And for viewers who may not know, now some of you will be seeing this after it's over, but we're doing this before it will be, and it is.
It is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and special thanks to the Simsbury Celebrates volunteers. I don't know if most folks know that the entire Simsbury Celebrates production and tradition is put on completely by donations. So it's a group of volunteers, and it's all contributions, and they really want you to come out and enjoy yourself. It starts at 4:30 the Saturday after Thanksgiving with fire truck parade at 7:30 and fireworks at 8:15. And special thanks to Linda Johnson, Carol Brown, and Janet Calabro for all of their hard work.
They do a
organizing,
tremendous job,
all
a
the
huge
events.
job. What I did find on Simsbury Patch, was a blurb on it, and then there was supposedly a link to click here, but it didn't work to get the schedule.
It's SimsburyCelebrates.org, and you can go to Town of Simsbury. There should be a link.
Well, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
I just did it shortly before I came over, and I thought I'll go to the town site because I'm sure they'll
Yes.
have the schedule. And then they said hard copy could be picked up at like the library. And
Yes, there's
someplace,
copies
so.
around. And then shortly after that, we have the swearing-in ceremony for newly elected officials. So
Now, when does that occur?
that occurs December 2nd at 6 p.m. at Eno Memorial Hall. I want to thank you, Jerry, for your kind words, and I want to thank all the voters for the confidence in me and allowing me the privilege of serving the town of Simsbury for the next 2 years. It's a great town, as we all know, to live, to work, and to play in, and there's so many exciting things that we have started that's my honor to continue. So I'm really looking forward to it.
All of those things you say about the town are true. At the same time, and what now? 21 years I've been interviewing the first selectman. Over that amount of time, you get an insight into your job is not an easy job. And especially, coming around the second time when you came back, and then the economic situation internationally went so screwy. I mean, well, I just want to say thank you. You have done a phenomenal job in keeping up the quality of this town and its services with unbelievable budget control. I mean, it's like magic.
Well,
so don't stop.
Well, thank you. And I think, just to say what's ahead, I think that the election, certainly there were a lot of great candidates on both sides of the aisle. And one of the things that we're really blessed with in Simsbury is an unlimited supply of volunteers who are willing to roll up their sleeves and bring their time and talents to our community, and we're really blessed. I know in other communities, many seats go unfilled or unchallenged, and in Simsbury, our voters really have a great choice. They can have a lot of great candidates to choose from, and the voters have made their choices, and on December 2nd, we'll all get sworn in. But I think there were some key issues that were raised that I think in the election, and certainly that we'll be working on.
Really? Like what?
Well, I think that you mentioned that the Board of Selectmen budget has remained at the same level since 2008. That's really unprecedented in the history of the town. But the mill rate, which is set by the Board of Finance, was an issue, and the fact that some folks made the mill rate an issue. I think that the change in the Board of Finance is significant. There'll be a change in that board, and I want to particularly thank Paul Hinault, who served the town for 18 years.
I'd like to do that too. Paul, this is to you. I think we've had some great discussions, and we always haven't been on the same side on issues. I personally think you've done such a responsible job of that and always raised the right issues. And there have been several good people on that committee, but I certainly count you as one, and I was so glad to see you were going to make the effort to run again, and terribly disappointed that didn't happen. So from me too. Thank you for all the years
Absolutely.
of effort.
And I did speak to Paul. I did thank him for all his great work and great service. Also congratulated Linda Schofield, who will be joining the Board of Finance. But I think that a change in the Board of Finance, which is the first time that the board has changed in many, many years, signifies that folks in Simsbury want us to focus the next 2 years on the mill rate. And, with the economy, with the reval, it's not a great time, economic climate to see a lot of grand list growth. Simsbury has not had a lot of grand list growth. None of the Connecticut has suffered more than any other state. So certainly on the revenue side, there'll be a lot of conversations, and I think a lot of the plans that have already been put in place will attract the new business, as we've seen, Dorset Crossing and some new development as well. But also, where can we reduce our costs? And there'll be a lot of conversations about priorities and goals and a lot of hard choices that will have to be made to really focus on that mill rate. The Board of Selectmen is only one piece. Three-quarters of it is the Board of Ed.
Right.
So there'll be conversations with the Board of Ed, with the Board of Selectmen. I think there are two issues that voters should pay attention to, residents should pay attention to. The Board of Finance has traditionally set the mill rate by estimating the tax collection rate at 98%. Mm-hmm. The tax collection rate in Simsbury has been over 99% for as long as anyone can remember. So there have been arguments that say by underestimating the collection rate, you're overtaxing. So there'll be conversations on that. Simsbury has an excellent bond rating, as you know. We've worked very hard to have a AAA bond rating. But, the Board of Finance has a policy of only issuing bonds for 10 years. So that means folks like us who live in town during this period when we're buying open space, which will be here for generations to come, only the people who live in town those 10 years will pay the cost of the open space. So philosophically, I've raised that issue with the Board of Finance previously. In some cases, purchasing long-term assets for the town should be paid for over a long period of time by a larger number of taxpayers. Mm-hmm. And I think that issue will also resurface at the Board of Finance as well. So, a lot of important issues.
Well, we've never discussed that before. That's an excellent point. Obviously, you have presented it. It has been discussed. I think, not as many people follow the Board of Finance stuff as they do the Board of Selectmen's meetings.
Right.
And, Board of Finance is powerful.
Very powerful, and probably the most powerful board that we have in town. More powerful than the Board of Selectmen, more powerful from the Board of Ed. And, I think it's easy to focus attention on the first selectman, on my position. On the Board of Selectmen, we're more accessible, we're more available, I think, because we have public audience in our boards. The Board of Finance does not. So it's in people's busy lives, and as complicated as people's lives are, it often is hard to understand that the Board of Finance actually controls the mill rate.
Right.
And the Board of Selectmen budget is only 1/3
I was going to say
of the budget, maybe a quarter of the budget. I think we're going to have those hard conversations. I think the next 2 years are going to be tough for the town. We need to focus on expenditures and revenues, and certainly a lot of challenges. And I'm just honored that folks have confidence in me to help me guide the town over the next 2 years in making some of those decisions.
Well, I'll follow the leader.
Thank you.
Oh, well, let's talk about some of those challenges in the specifics. Two of them that come to mind, just because I did read some of the details on what the recommendations were for the Hartford building and the property around it.
Yes.
And then also, people keep saying to me, the big Y? The big Y? Where's the big Y? And yet, I know it's been all approved by the town. So the two of those, let's talk about those a little bit.
First, let me just thank the Hartford Insurance Group for being complete partners with the town. They have made business choices to sell off some of their businesses, and they immediately notified us when they publicly could and have been involved with us every step of the way. I think there's some misinformation out there that the Hartford's going away tomorrow and we're going to lose $1.5 million. The Hartford owns the building, so whether the building is vacant or not, they will continue to pay real estate taxes on the building. Their plan is to phase out their employees over the next 2 years. In the meantime, I think they've played an unprecedented role in working with the town to try to find a buyer or a user as quickly as possible so that there is no glitch in the town. So we did the responsible thing, which was to let the public know that this was a long-term problem, and we immediately started tackling it. We just finished, the Hartford paid the bulk of a study to look at what needed to be done in order to help market the building. Obviously, they have CBRE brokers, they have an national book of connections, and they've done a great job.
To their advantage to sell the building.
Absolutely,
yeah.
but they have they're open to leasing. They've worked very
really?
closely with the
Okay.
town. They are thrilled with the town's partnership with them. We had a meeting with the Hartford broker, John McCormick, yesterday. All of the information about the Hartford is on their website. We have all the study information on the Town of Simsbury website. They'll be holding broker showcase tours. They'll be holding development tours. They are asking the town to assist them in something very unusual, and that is getting the property through the state regulatory process before it's ready to be sold.
Do you want to review just briefly some of the recommendations? Because, well, I thought that all that makes so much sense. But orchestrating that, I mean, it's not one simple, this is what you need. It's having looked at the demographics, the educational
Exactly,
level,
Jerry.
the quality of life, then what should you target? And I thought, wow, so you're going to look for businesses, of a moderate size to small. It takes a lot to fill that building. And yet, you can't ignore the facts. I mean, their study was very sound.
Exactly. I think what folks have to remember is this isn't a home where a local residential real estate broker is going to go out and find someone to buy it. This is a very large piece of property. It's going to require international, national connections. There are only a certain level of potential buyers and potential tenants of a building this size. So, we are very realistic that the town of Simsbury is not going to put together a brochure and send it out to homeowners and find someone. But we are all ambassadors. We all have connections, and certainly working with the real estate brokers, we're
I'll
making
promise
those
to
connections.
move if you come
There
here.
you go. But there are some things that we can do, and one of the things that the study showed is that there are so many uses of the building and so many potential uses. It's actually very exciting, from a component of educational to technology to medical to bioengineering. There's a lot of leveraging with Jackson Labs.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We have a very highly educated, skilled workforce, engineers, medical professionals, researchers, scientists, and that has gone a long way in helping C.B. Richard Ellis help market the building. The other thing I would say is that the awards and the professionalism and the record that the town has is actually being marketed as part of their promotion. So the Bicycle Friendly Award, that shows there's a quality of life here in Simsbury, that shows that we have a plan and we execute it. The fact that Simsbury was named one of the best places to live in Money Magazine and Connecticut Magazine. The real estate brokers have put all of those awards, which are a tribute to not only our staff but our elected officials. That sells a town.
Well,
obviously the Hartford has to sell the building, but we can sell our town.
Well, and one of the charms that has helped preserve it, which commercially has been viewed as a negative, is you got to go north or south and then back the opposite direction to get to where you're going if you're headed east. And that's where most of the commercial stuff is of size. However, the big change in that development is with the biotech stuff that's happening in a direct line, and it actually would be a very convenient commute for anybody, whether they live here or not, if they're on this side wanting to move in around that complex, it would be great, that north-south
absolutely.
structure.
And, let's not forget there are businesses that are already in Simsbury that we want to retain.
Yep.
They're in addition to attracting new business. And, one of the recommendations that we're executing is the marketing of Simsbury for both the businesses that are already here as well as attracting the new businesses. And, our asset of being a unique quality of life, excellent schools, excellent recreational facilities, an excellent place for seniors, an excellent place for families.
Great dining destination.
Great dining. That asset is countered with our disadvantages of being not near a highway.
Which has been also an advantage.
Which has also been a blessing. And I think, as things change, as the economy changes, which is one of the reasons the Hartford has sold off their book of business. It's not that they're moving out of Simsbury to somewhere else. They're dissolving their business. The opportunities of the new types of businesses that didn't even exist 10 years ago, the Googles, the Twitters, the biotech firms, the startups, that allows us to have an opportunity to attract a new generation of corporate community partners. And so it's a really exciting time for us as a community as well.
Okay, I'm all excited. Now, why is the Big Y not there yet?
So the Big Y, it's interesting because the Big Y was approved in one night by the Land Use Commissions. It was probably one of the poster children of the excellent work our staff has done and the work of the Land Use Commissions. They needed some final technical approvals by the Board of Selectmen.
Could I stop just for a moment?
Sure.
Because one of the things I was pleased to see at the firm that did the study was that something that would be attractive to businesses is that the approval process locally has been so streamlined and is so much better in so many other towns. And I remember for years, that
Jerry,
was the biggest negative. Businesses were saying, I could spend all of this money only to find out because I have to go through this door, this door, this door, this door. A year later, one of those doors is just not open.
I think you should be nervous if you hear someone say the town could do more for business, because that signifies that we shouldn't have standards, and that is not something I think the town or the residents want.
No,
we have
I didn't mean to get you off track,
absolutely. We have very high standards. We have standards of what we want our buildings to look like. We have standards of what we want our traffic to look like. One of the recommendations of the site that the Big Y was on is proposed is that we didn't want all these curb cuts like they have on Route 44.
Okay.
And so there was a very concerted effort to work with all of the property owners to make sure there was one entrance in and another entrance out, so you didn't have all these curb cuts in our community. We didn't want that because
Plus it hurts the curbs. It's kind of mean to curbs.
Well, it's dangerous.
There's all this tar blood
it's
all over
dangerous,
the place.
and it looks awful, and it's dangerous for bikers and walkers.
Oh, please. I know.
So,
I was taken down by somebody turning in front of me right across from there.
Exactly.
Where you have like 8 curb cuts. And the guy, at that point, I had like dysrhythmia periodically. And the guy never saw me. And there was this couple parked in the car ready to come out of that same curb thing. And as I'm seeing this guy start to cut, and I look up, where can I go? I see both of them going like this. And he wandered in, and the only choice I had, I did hit his rear tire, but was to go down and go under the back of his car. And then, all this adrenaline pumped in, so I was having a problem. The guy got out of the car, he could barely walk. I felt sorry for him. He never saw me, but it happens. You can't have that every 20 feet.
And so we were very firm, and it's a credit to our land use department and the Land Use Commission that they agreed with the Route 10 corridor study. They agreed with the traffic pattern, and we approved it. In Simsbury, as in any other town, you can approve projects, but you can't hold a gun to someone's head and say, build it.
Okay.
And in this case of the Big Y, the private developers and the neighbors are in a financial fight between themselves. The town has offered to facilitate. In fact, we've met.
I don't know what
but
that means.
It means that they're fighting over easements, and they're fighting over who uses what road and who has permission to use road. That doesn't involve the town.
Okay.
So these are private disputes that the town has offered to be helpful in. We've been so helpful that they told us now to stay out of their business. It's private, and Big Y will or will not be built. It's will be up to the developer. It will be up to the property owner whether there's It's not the town's interest, and we can't get involved in private deals, and that's where it is right now.
Okay.
All we can do is approve every single stumbling block. As far as the town is concerned, all the approvals are in place to put a shovel in the ground tomorrow. Why that hasn't been done and what the disputes are between the property owners is now private. And, I think that we don't have to apologize in Simsbury for having high standards and approving projects. And we don't have to apologize if those projects were approved and developers don't build them. I think, we've done everything we can. We've spent a lot of time, a lot of money making sure the process goes forward. And, I think that when the developer decides to build or not build, then we'll get some answers as to why they made that decision. But, if it's a great site, so if this developer does not purchase the property, Rick Wagner will still own the property and will be able to market a great site that has the approvals already in
I thought there were
place.
two property owners, two families.
Well, the only
Big Y is
proposal
just the Wagner property.
Yes, that's the Big Y
Okay.
property.
Then the other thing that's popping up, like boom, 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 luxury condos and apartments. Now, I'd like to see a little more affordable housing go in, and I thought some of them were going to be, and I have, out of curiosity, going to look at them. They're quite nice. They aren't affordable housing.
Well, and again, Jerry, that's where the town can approve the concept, but we don't control the market. And, when there was if the town had just sat back in this economic downturn and waited for development, we would still be waiting. But instead, we were very proactive in doing some studies and doing some preliminary work to say what we could have is some apartments and more housing in the downtown area.
Yeah.
And once we said that, boom, the development happened. And, we knew that we had a need for apartments and condos near the downtown, and those have been built. Again, I think folks thought they would be a lower cost than they are, but again, that's not something the town can control. So, I think the fact that we created and spurred the development by having those conversations.
Sure. So the other thing that just occurred to me listening to you is now the next assessment. It's every 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. So when will the next one be?
5 years from now. So
we just had it?
We just had it. So, and I think that's why you saw the mill rate went up, but the property assessments went down.
Yeah.
So I know
okay.
it's complicated.
I was thinking it was
the mill rate
older
doesn't
than that.
necessarily equal
Well,
what your
that was
taxes.
bad timing, huh? Because now property values are going up again. So
Well, it's great for property owners.
well, yes, it is.
Because,
but at the same time,
and it's a benefit to
it takes the mill
absolutely.
rate up.
It does, but I think that property owners now will reap the fruits of the economic stimulus. The rebound that will spur development. Folks can get ahead now because in many cases their property taxes went down, or in some cases it went up, but it was based on a reval. It's interesting.
Mine
because,
went up.
Well, Connecticut requires us to do it, so municipalities have to do it.
It wasn't this year.
It was this year.
No, it was not this year.
It was this
the beginning of this year?
It was implemented in
January
this budget
1st.
cycle.
Oh, it was implemented in this, but the assessment, when
Yes,
you got
last
your
year.
notice,
yes,
was last year.
Yes, it takes a year for it to hit
Got
the
it.
taxes.
Okay, yeah.
In some states, the properties are assessed upon the sale of the property.
Mm-hmm.
So in many cases, that they'll be someone who maybe bought a home, like a senior citizen who bought their home years ago and stayed in it all those years, and maybe the values have increased over time, would have the benefit of paying the lower taxes, and then the new buyer would be able to come in and know what the new taxes would be before they purchased it.
Okay.
And there's an argument to be made that in some cases that's more fair, particularly in affluent communities or in more shoreline communities where property values have increased more than some folks can afford to live in them.
A thing that's still out there, even though the values are climbing, because Jan and I have thought, fortunately, we're very healthy. But that's not always going to be the case. Mm-hmm. And then if you have a big house and, you like to garden in at what point do you plan, well, let's downsize? Mm-hmm. So we've begun part of that process, and part of it is doing your research on what's available out there, that would suit tough choices. Everybody who ages has to make comparable choices.
Absolutely.
But anyhow,
and I think that's what the walkable, that's exactly why we had all of the studies that we had that shows we have a need for walkable, livable units in the downtown with retail that brings more people downtown. And now that we've said that publicly, the developers are starting to come in and say, okay, we know what you want to build, so we can go through the process quicker and we'll build it.
But the other point I was going to make is this is what it last sold for. Well, that might have been 7 years ago or whatever, and the prices that are being asked are still not up to what it sold for, at that time. But, they're climbing some. So I guess, now how would that work? Is that a great time to sell, but it's a great time to buy?
It is a great time to buy.
You can't hold on to two properties.
Time
well,
for
Mary,
that.
okay, we're about to wind up here. Once again, I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
I'm very, very pleased and feel confident that you and those elected, who I know a number of them served during the time you've been leading, I hope they will acknowledge that's been a successful path.
We look forward to serving.
Cooperatively move ahead. So
thank you. Thanks for coming down Town Hall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank all of you. And we'll see you again next month on State of the Town.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.